Lads, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we have a very, very busy day. We have the new August Burns Red album. We have to get to the latest prog poll winner, which was Peripheries P1. And as you can see from this video, we're going to be checking out a new band on the channel called Catsclaw. Now, they're a small band. I believe this is their first EP, but they do have some credibility behind them because the lineup on this band is, it's just, you know, when we get into it, you're going to see why. I'm having a hard time finding the words to express how proud I am of this material and how much joy it brings me that people are connecting with it. I feel honored to have worked closely with @Calthomer. We're going to get into all this, for he is without a doubt an absolute genius. This EP serves a dual purpose. It fills a void both in my personal life and in modern metal. I look forward to pushing boundaries and expanding this project in the future. Thank you to everyone that made this possible. And then we have the tagged, you know, people in the bottom that were a part of this project. Calthomer, obviously famously known from Valjarta. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of Valjarta. The absolute pinnacle of modern metal weirdness. This album is, without a doubt, one of the best pieces of modern metal, if not just metal. And obviously we all know that Cal is, you know, a part of Valjarta. So that in its own right is enough to make me check these guys out. This is going to be like Valjarta with a different vocalist from what I'm understanding. Also, to mention, we have the mix and master was done by Buster Odahome from Valjarta and Humanity's Last Breath. So it's going to be big. Now there's other mentions. I'm not going to go into all the mentions because it's like album design. There's Jeremy Groans, his vocal production. If this is anything like Valjarta and Humanity's Last Breath, and we all know what Cal and Buster are capable of, it's going to be incredible. So guys, without any further ado, let's jump in. Drop a like in this video if you haven't already, it'd be much appreciated. Make sure you are subbed to the channel. Like I said, we have a busy day, so if you want to get involved in the Patreon, we're going to have the Periphery album up as soon as possible, and the August Burns Red new album coming out as soon as possible as well. So guys, without any further ado, let's hop on into Catsclaw's debut EP, Human Fission. Let's go. Okay, cool. Right, we're right into it. No problem. Well, first we have Malfessence. Not sure what that means. Means wrongdoing, apparently. There's Cal coming in. It's all been Cal, but that's trademark Cal. And that Buster Valjarta sound. There's gonna be a lot of this, lads. I feel so at home when I hear that. Oh, we're getting sludgy here. Oh yeah, right back, teleportation into Mustaden under Vatten. But then this feels like Humanity's Last Breath. It's like that blend. Fucking with the vocalist though. Oh my god. Yeah, those harmonics feel a lot more akin to Humanity's Last Breath. Oh my god. Buster's production is just on another level, man. Arguably the most underrated modern metal artist. I know Valjarta and Humanity's Last Breath get a lot of credit, but Buster's just involved in so many good projects, man. And the fact that he plays the drums, he produces, he plays the guitar. Oh! Definitely a lot more to the point from a guitar standpoint than Valjarta is. I guess because it's an EP, they have less time to, you know, beat around the bush. It's just like, you know, their opening party, I guess, their introduction to Catsclaw. Which I do like, to be fair. Let me pause it real quick. Because let's be honest, if Cal and Buster were to try and recreate Valjarta or Humanity's Last Breath, like, that's been done. As unique as that sound is, you can already hear it creeping into modern metal, where people are already taking so many of those elements that have become so popular because of those albums or those projects. And, you know, as much as it kills me to say, at some point that sound will become, like, you know, dated to a certain extent. It's still so fresh, and I love when a lot of the more modern metal bands now at the moment, you can hear it like slowly transition into this stall sound, and we have been getting it for the last while. Different bands putting their own twist on it. You know, Kern's Invent Animate are kind of putting that atmospheric twist on it. So it's cool to see it like peek its head in other ways, but at some point this will become like the new gent, if that makes sense. Maybe like not as big of a like cultural thing as gent, but it's definitely like this Saul era is most certain. We're right in the middle of it, you know what I mean? It's not like this new thing anymore. Obviously, I wasn't even on the scene when Thal became a thing, but I've quickly come to love it. But you can already see, like, I've been in it enough time, for enough time now, with, you know, having heard Valjarta's projects and having heard Humanity's Last Breath. Like, that Thal sound is definitely, you know, it's here to stay, and it's definitely made such an impact on the scene. But I like the fact that so far it has hints of the nuance of their playing style. Well, Cal's playing style anyway. And then obviously Buster's production is just so crisp. But it's not, like, from what I've heard, trying to just recreate Valjarta under a different banner. It's a lot more to the point. Like I said, with an EP, it kind of has to be. But it would be almost kind of like, you know, just keep Valjarta to Valjarta. You know, if you're going to go into a different side project with this vocalist who I'm after forgetting the name of, James Morgan, you know, make it different, make it stand out. And definitely it sounds different to Valjarta. Again, has a lot of the nuance in the guitar playing. Production is fairly similar to what we've heard with, you know, Buster's production. Obviously, it's not going to change much. It just sounds crisp. But yeah, I'm happy to hear that it's not just like a complete rip of Valjarta under a different name, you know? So that's good. Yeah, these ones definitely feel a lot more like Humanity's Last Breath as opposed to Valjarta. Yeah, it's giving me mad. The self-titled Humanity's Breath album vibes. It's just one of my fucking favorite albums ever, man. I lost my mind listening to that. Vocalists just fit in very well though. Like, it doesn't feel forced or anything along those lines. I've never heard of him, not gonna lie. James Morgan. Today is the first time I've heard of him. Sounds good though. Yeah, this is so much more akin to the self-titled Humanity's Last Breath album. This groove is just so like it. And that vocal call out as well. Oh man, we're getting heavier. So Human Fission is the title track, and it's also one of these singles that was released, as well as Passenger. So I haven't heard any of them, but I remember a lot of people were like, Drew, check these out. Ooh, this is different. That had Buster all over at that moment. I'll have lyrics for this one actually. Oh, that goes so hard. Jesus. I'm guessing Buster's programming these drums, or at least doing the drums. Some of the drum work there just has Buster all over it. Oh, that's sick. Oh man, this is the, out of the 3 tracks, this track feels the most similar to like a modern metalcore track, just with the guitar play. like still has that Buster production where it gets into these like open pockets of space in the background in the production where you can hear like that fizzle up of like these weird undertones of production. But the riffs from Cal, definitely a lot more akin to a lot of the like metalcore, modern metalcore bands that I've listened to. So that's the first time I've heard Cal kind of, I'm going to say, sound like a generic metalcore writer in the most complimentary way possible. I say generic as that's the kind of sound from a guitar riff standpoint or just even a lick standpoint that reminds me of like modern metalcore. Usually Cal has this like completely unique Valjarta sound. Like I always put Valjarta in their own category, although they have like different elements. I know it's Thal is the genre, but like Thal now, because it's taken on more of a like a globally accepted term, it's now kind of like being used in other bands, but those bands that use Thal will never sound like Valjarta, if that makes sense. The overall production and just like the nuance of the guitar work is just so unique to him. So in the most complimentary way possible, this is the first time I've heard Cal sound like a regular guitarist, if that makes sense. That sounds completely disrespectful, but trust me, it's coming from a fanboy, okay? So, but yeah, this sounds sick so far. Like, I mean, seeing the lineup on it, granted, I didn't know the vocalist, but, you know, the production and the guitarist being Cal, it was always going to be sick. But yeah, I'm loving this so far. Again, I think the 18 minutes is perfect as an introduction because it's so intense, it can maybe suffer from ear fatigue as well, which is what I spoke about with the Chelsea Grin EP, which I reacted to yesterday, or the two EPs. So this one is definitely, you know, the perfect length because we've only got 2 tracks left and I feel like I'm only getting into it. So you're almost kind of wanting more as opposed to feeling like, right, I've just sat through fucking an hour of just getting violated by riffs. So that is definitely a big compliment because a lot of bands can get that wrong. Again, this just feels like the very first notes that come in is so Valjarta, that tone, but the tempo that picks up after and the rhythm that they go with after that feels like a more modern metalcore piece or a more traditional modern metalcore piece. So it's like, it's exactly what the new project is, I guess, is like a kind of more modern metalcore sound with the influence from Valjarta, obviously, and then the production of, you know, production capabilities of Buster. Like this Valjarta, and even that swell is just like Buster's trademark, you know? I'm digging the vocals as well, though. Get in my fucking playlist right now. That is getting liked. Mood switch. Oh! Alt feels off this. This feels like alt, I'm not gonna lie. All these bands are just so like closely intertwined. I love it. am absolutely infatuated with that tone. That is just like, that's the best tone in metal. It just cuts through the mix so fucking well. That is like trademark these guys. I'll never... I'm sorry. Like, I will never hear that tone in any future metal release and not think it was inspired by these guys. Alright, now this feels like Wonder Vratten. Oh god. This is again the final track on the EP, and it was one of the singles that was released. I believe the second single. I've just been holding my hands like this for the last like 5 minutes. I'm like praying. Oh, I just showing off. Yeah, HLB all over this one. It's weird because like the actual writing of it is obviously done by Cal, but the overall like feel of the sound, I know again it's produced by Buster. That's the Humanity's Last Breath connection there, but the actual writing itself feels like Humanity's Last Breath. So it's interesting to just hear the constant crossover between all the different bands. And then obviously in the last track as well, I mentioned Alt. So these guys, I know they were touring together, I believe. Humanity's Last Breath and Alt were on the same tour, I believe. And I know Buster is in with those guys, and I believe he produces for Alt as well, or even wrote a riff for their last track. Could be wrong, could be right, but I know there's a lot of, you know, intertwining connections across all of these bands. So it's so cool, man, because you can hear all the different like influences and the different sounds from each band, and you're picking them apart and like hearing it. And now we have another edition, and I'm sure these guys are going to get all the reaction channels popping up and doing, you know, reactions to these guys, and just it's going to be great because it's these guys are literally starting from the ground up. Like I've seen their Instagram post and it's literally like 50 likes on it, so they're still relatively unknown, but hopefully, you know, with the following that they have from all of the other projects, and you know, I'm sure the reaction community will jump all over this as well, they'll grow the following and be able to, you know, continue to produce more music under different headers. And yeah, but sounds great so far. Let's continue. These moments keep it so engaging as opposed to just being blasting you all the time, which is what's nice. Like it gives this more... These moments mean so much more when you get this ambient build up into it, you know? Those little stutters. breakdown coming. Oh, lad. Oh, no. I'm pausing it because the way that was building, just obviously it was building into a breakdown. It's the last track on the album, but like just knowing how Humanity's Last Breath music builds, that felt like it was going to like quickly swap into a breakdown. And then it's almost like they're playing back and forth, like throwing the ball from Valjarta to Humanity's Last Breath. Like it feels like that when that tone comes in that I spoke about with the guitar riff. No. It's like that's Valjarta, but then these like more direct fucking pounding breakdowns is Humanity's Last Breath. So let's go back to here. This build up very HLB. Yeah, see, once I heard this, Humanity's Last Breath have a track that's very similar to this where, I can't remember which one it is, but it's one of my favorites by them. Because they don't have any like real like skippable tracks, Humanity's Last Breath, especially off that self-titled album. I actually don't even know the names because I just start the album and just listen to it all the way through. So the whole thing is just, to me, is one track. But they have a track that builds with this and then it just cuts into a breakdown, which is so fucking sick. And it just, this part here, as soon as I heard this, I was like, right, it's gonna cut quickly into a breakdown. But then we got that like Humanity's Last Breath-esque breakdown, but then it like quickly swapped into like, it's almost throwing the ball over to Valjarta and like letting Cal do his thing. It's fucking sick. I know it's all Cal. Yeah, throw the Valjarta. And then the harmonics that come in. And we got a bit of a melodic outro, man. This is an impressive project. I honestly didn't like this song up until we got that moment. And now this is quite a cool outro as well. Feels quite classy to end on something melodic. A very mature move, in my opinion, to end on something like this. This is a sick project though, man. As to be expected, to be fair. Like, I think it would be very unlikely for me to come out of this and not enjoy it. Obviously, if I did not enjoy it, I would say it. But, you know, come on, like, you've heard it here with me. It's a fucking cracking EP, especially with debut EP. That was incredible. Let's see how many monthly listeners these guys have. They have 4,500 monthly listeners. When you think about how ridiculous that is, granted, it's their first EP, so I'm sure that will obviously, you know, spiral upwards, especially when, like I said, the reaction channels start to check this one out as well. It's an 18-minute long EP, so it's definitely digestible. Like I said with Chelsea Grin's 2 EPs, I think just the way in which projects are released these days is a huge thing. You've seen it with Sleep Token, the way Sleep Token have released their singles. I know this is a slightly different approach, but just the overall release landscape means so much more these days, especially with social media and the way like reaction channels jump onto bands and how they blow up on TikTok. The actual way in which bands are releasing music now is such a big thing. I know it was kind of just before, you know, you release an album and that's it. Now bands are like experimenting with different ways to release things, and just first impressions are huge. And with me, if I didn't like this, I am glad that I didn't listen to the singles, because, you know, I've already would have heard 2 of the 5 or 6 tracks. I think it was 6 tracks on that EP. I already would have heard 2 of them, so I already would have known half of it, and I had no idea what their sound was going to be like. So just by the way they released this, being 18 minutes long, it's like a bite-sized chunk of what they're capable of, and I kind of want more now, as opposed to if I had heard a whole album of this. One, I think ear fatigue would definitely creep in, because it's not as ambient and open pockets of space like Vallarta is. Now granted, it is an EP, so it's not going to be, it doesn't have that much time to actually fit that space in, but for what it is, it's definitely, I think, it's definitely promising from these guys, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, the lineup alone is promising. It was always going to be promising, but I think the actual work itself, you know, has its own, what's the word? It has its own place in the scene. You know, it's not just like a complete rip of Vallarta. It's not just a complete rip of Humanity's Last Breath. So shout out to the guys. Enjoyed that one a lot. Again, I know it probably seems like there was nothing on this planet that would have made me not enjoy this, but genuinely, if I didn't like it, I would come on here and just say, you know, I don't like it. But their sound is just so fucking unique. The nuance in their writing, the production that Buster is capable of as well. There's just so much nuance to it that you just know it's him, but it still sounds so fresh. Even though I've heard Vallarta, Humanity's Last Breath track so many times, it's still like so fucking fresh in the scene. And even with other bands trying to like recreate it and that kind of thing, it's still not these guys, you know. It's just something on that side of the world that, you know, there's something in the water over there with the sound. So yeah, guys, that is going to be me for the video. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Let me know what your thoughts are on the EP in the comment section down below, guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, it's a busy day. We've got the August Burns Red album reaction that's going to be dropping probably later on, and then I'm going to be reacting to Peripheries P1, which is going to be an exclusive album to Patreon, obviously, because it will get blocked if I put the whole thing on YouTube. So yeah, guys, if you want to get all that, patreon.com/DrewFortune. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go and check out Catsclaw in your own time. Make sure you follow them on Instagram. Guys, that's me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm signing out. Look after yourselves. Cheers.